Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, says Nigeria now has 1.9 billion liters of petrol in stock, capable of lasting the country for 32 days. The minister made this known in Abuja while updating the Federal Executive Council on Wednesday. He informed the council that there is enough stock in reference to about 1.9 billion liters to last for 32 days. But this claim is not reflected in some areas across the country as queues are still persistent. Some reports have it that fuel queues have reduced in Abuja, Kaduna, and some other cities in the last 48 hours, linked to the fact that a good number of fuel stations have started operating 24-hour services. But as petrol queues begin to reduce, there's also this issue of scarcity of aviation fuel, which has led to prices of airfares being on the high side. There's also the increasing price of diesel, with several businesses that use it to drive manufacturing complaining bitterly. Well, joining us now to discuss all these issues is the president of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Elder Chinedu Okoronkwo. So good to have you here again. We have seen the NNPC giving orders that some petrol stations should actually operate 24 hours. And just last night within Abuja here, we saw, the NNPC officials and the NMDPRA all going around to ensure that this directive is on. But there was a new twist to it, which is for the fact that they said that the Department of State Service DSS are also included to monitor all of this. I mean, just give us a very quick update. Why do we need to have the DSS monitoring petroleum marketers as to that directive?
Well, I think I'm happy to be here again. The directive for now is to see how a lot of these things will be ameliorated. That is to say, all hands must be on deck. It's not something that is going to be there permanently. Very soon all this thing will be over. If you look at Abuja, the queue have seriously reduced. And I believe before the end of this week, it will clear off. And there might be no need for DSS to it's a temporary thing. So
is it because some of your marketers are not complying or they are underhand deals, that's why you need the DSS to be monitoring an NNPC directive to your members?
No, like I said earlier, when you want to solve a problem, everybody must come out and solve that problem. We're even happy that DSS is there because you could give a dog a bad name to hang it. We are not involved in all this thing, and the association have also put it out. For now, all jerry cans must stop.
Yeah, because I was going to it yesterday. I drove into a filling station, and I was about buying fuel. But we had this vehicle that came in, with a tinted glass. But all in between the vehicle, I mean, they had lots of jerry cans, and they were still selling inside. And you would wonder what's going on, despite all these directives here and there. Let's just talk about this situation that we have seen easing off now. What's the magic that's been done? What's the difference that's been done? We've heard the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources saying that we have 1.9 billion liters. How do we believe him?
For us, in IPMAN, we believe that if the system is free without any encumbrance, we'll do our business well. That is why we are putting it upon ourselves to ensure these 24 hours, directive, so that these queues will clear off. Masses shouldn't suffer getting this product. I mean, for us, it's a sacrifice we are doing, and we believe if this country is at peace, we'll do our business moving forward. I think
should Nigeria be afraid that this is like a temporary measure, so that we don't have a situation whereby when we get to next week again, we'll see the queues increasing? I mean, what are the assurances you can give to Nigerians now that this reduction in fuel queues will easily thin out, and then it will be for a long period of time before we go into these issues of fuel shortage, at least from your own marketer's perspective?
Let me tell you, we have division of labor. If this product is available, the marketers will do their 24 hours, even if you want it, for the 8 hours, we are ready. I can't talk for government for right now. I can't talk for them, but they have assured us of availability, and we must go to bank with their words. You know, remember what actually sparked this process was, bad fuel and getting it out and the repos. So I told you when I came the other time, it takes a little repo to, cause a problem of days and months and weeks. But we are now beginning to,
so successfully removed the bad fuel from the system.
And totally. Now we have good fuel. And the system is gradually coming back again to normalcy.
Okay, interesting indeed. Now let's move on to the issues of diesel. Why do we have the prices of diesel being sold so high by your members? What exactly is the problem?
Not my members. Remember, diesel is deregulated, and you know the issue of dollar. The dollar is what is the determinant of all this. And I think that is the area I think government will work fast and see how these our local refineries can take off. Looking at the chain of bringing this thing, dollar and everything, the pressure is too much. By the time these local refineries are up and running, I think some of this thing will not be there. For now, everything comes from abroad, even aviation fuel. It's a problem.
We'll come into that, but right now we have diesel being sold at 625 naira per liter. Considering how many manufacturing companies use that, even some medium-sized businesses, including even trucks that are owned by your members that will have to move around the country, how will some of these businesses survive? What are you doing to ameliorate the situation from your own perspective?
That is why we are now asking the relevant agencies of government, especially the NNPC, Ministry of Petroleum, to see how they can do to ensure that they cushion this diesel thing. Because agreed is no more deregulated, but they can do a little intervention so that especially transporters, marketers bringing this thing, if they can arrange a special something for them so that these prices will not, escalate.
Like a sort of subsidy or what?
Not subsidy. You can call it intervention, Let's use a milder word.
Okay, very interesting. Now, what's the ex-depot price for you? Because I heard that most of the marketers are complaining that the ex-depot price for diesel climbed up to 500 naira per liter and all of that. So as a result of that, that's why
it will be difficult to say this is the price with the movement of dollar. And you remember there is this war. Russian war is also another factor.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you that we've seen the crude oil price moving between $120 to $130 per barrel, and it's been a huge challenge. So, but what will you do to assure members of the public that your members are also not taking advantage of the situation to punish Nigerians by increasing prices randomly?
Nobody will be happy to punish anybody. We're even the one losing our members. We're no more doing business. I can tell you for free. A lot of people, the cost of doing business now is very, very high. And you look at the exchange rate, today you can get it at 580, but before you say jack is up. So a lot of distortions. That is why I said, using that mild word, intervention, so that some of this thing will...
When you say intervention, I say
especially in AGO,
you need like maybe 100 billion naira to be pumped into that sector to bridge the gap, or
what we are talking now is about the masses. If you see this thing translates, by the time you don't do anything and this thing is still going up, it will affect the food, affect everything. But government can quietly do something to
have we done that in the past? Do we have a precedence to doing that?
We did it during the time when Bakari was alive. This is the aviation issue.
That's the former chief of the late chief of staff to
President called us and singled those who are into aviation business and even this AGO thing you are saying. And government did a little intervention to nip in the bud. This thing does not happen every time. Maybe after the war, everything can also revive. But while it is raging, government can do something to ameliorate the sufferings of everybody.
And how easy is it for your members to actually access dollar at the moment?
It's not easy now.
Shouldn't you be having some concessions because of the nature of your
importation? And it translates to everything we're doing. You know, for us, it's very, very difficult for now. For us, that is why we are really eager to see our local refineries working optimally. So
very interesting. And the Dangote Refinery is coming on stream later in the year. But now let's move on to the aviation fuel. Just before we go on a short break, why do we have airlines having the inability to access aviation fuel? If you go to the airports today, they are all packed. Ticket prices from 50,000, we are hearing is 100,000, 120, just one-way ticket. Aren't you shocked by that kind of development?
That is why I said earlier that this is where government can also do something to bring smiles on people's face. It's very ridiculous for somebody to fly 45 minutes journey with 50, 60, 100,000 naira. It goes a long way to show how the country is drifting. Government need to come and know those who are in this business. What can we do so that you don't get out of business pending when situation will improve? It's not a bad thing. For us, they have done it before. They can also do it now and see how they can checkmate these activities of volatility in dollar and price of crude going. It could have been a blessing if we are refining here, but it's a problem now for us. But we must find a way, a thin line, so that people don't suffer seriously.
But what's actually the problem with the aviation fuel? Is it the lack of
refining? It's still important.
Yeah, I mean, is it that marketers are not getting access to it to import? Because I mean, the airlines, I'm very sure, are willing to pay.
That is why you are getting the price. When they check their income and output and the input, they will also put a price. And when the price is high, it will trickle down. But if government can now say, look, hey, for this thing, see what we want to do for you. Don't go this far. Have this. So that it will help people.
Well, when we come back, I still want to ask you that question. I want to be very sure if the oil marketers are not having access to the aviation fuel in terms of bringing it in, or what exactly is the problem alongside the NNPC. You're still watching the Rise interview. The conversation on the shortage of petroleum products in Nigeria continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Rise interview. I'm Somna Sambo, and my guest is still the president of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Chinedu Okoronkwo, and we've been discussing the issues on the scarcity of petroleum products across the country, right from petrol to diesel and then aviation fuel and all of that. And I come to you. Let's talk about this aviation fuel, and just like I was talking about, there are specialized companies that have been given the permit to actually import this special fuel also into the country. And the airlines have been complaining. I mean, most of the airlines have had to shift their flights here and there or cancel them and all of that. And they're complaining that it's really hampering their operations. How do we go from here? What are the immediate solutions we can proffer apart from the intervention that you have talked about?
I think I heard today that the GMD have called some of these people dealing on this product. I believe by the time they talk, they'll work out a process that will be seamless in getting this product. I think that is basically, it's a special product. It's not like, it's not product marketers even deal with. You have to have the facility to do with that product, So if by the time they meet and rub mind, they can look at some of these charges and see how to nip in the bud. You see a lot of charges inherent in this business of importation. Government can take some and say, please allow this one to go. That way the price will also come down.
Yeah, and the House of Representatives also summoned the Group Managing Director of the NNPC Limited, the National Petroleum Company, to talk about how all of these petroleum product issues, scarcity issues, can be resolved. As we try to round off this conversation, you've been talking about the need for us to have our own domestic refining capacity.
Yes,
why has it been difficult for IPMAN to be able to work alongside the government to talk about this, resolving this issue of, our refinery is not working? What have you been doing from the background also to talk about how we drastically need to go away from this importation?
Well, I think when I came on board, that was one of my major issue we had wanted to tackle then. And like in any house where you have crisis, that house does not grow. Those who lost in the whole process started putting tantrums, doing a lot of things to disturb that process.
I can tell you, own association,
yes,
IPMAN,
yes.
And
we would have had
about
two refineries now. One at Itobe in Kogi and another one in Bayelsa.
Owned by IPMAN?
IPMAN.
Oh, interesting.
A group came from Italy and they were ready. They came even with about $3 billion here. We took them to the villa, to SSS, and they did their documentation. Those group who felt they are not, happy with what is going on, started writing, harassing those white investors, and they left. I can tell you for free, we're not still done with that. We are also looking how to change that narrative to gas, LNG, or LPG, with this new advent of gas that we are now looking into. By the time we key into that, we'll also achieve what we want to achieve with refining. Know that the movement now is gearing towards gas.
Yeah,
and I believe,
especially the compressed natural gas that
it will be a new horizon where the nation will have succor, if we can seriously.
But tell us about that plan. Do you still have the plans
to
actually
is
do
the
to build the refineries?
It's
and
still
all
there.
of that?
The land, everything is still there. We're still working. We're still letting them know.
Now,
that,
how about the public refineries? Should we sell them at this point in time?
When they are working on it now, you're aware.
Yes, they've been doing this turnaround maintenance every now and then.
No.
I mean, the Buhari government came in. We thought all of that would be done.
who were part of the building of that refinery, especially in that of Port Harcourt, I was there 2 weeks ago. They are really doing a lot of job. If what they said before the end of this year, that refinery will be up and running, it will also go a long way in reducing this issue of importation and development.
Yeah, but will you subscribe to people who are saying that these national assets are dwindling? We should just sell them. Maybe IPMAN can even buy one of the refineries and
you
operate.
Don't sell it as a scrap. That would be so ridiculous. Let's get the refinery working. We can now talk of, because government cannot be doing business. It's not easy.
But would IPMAN be willing to buy any
Very
of those
willing.
refineries?
We are ready. We are businessmen.
To run them. Because yes. I see that you are going into big, huge businesses now
yes.
In the downstream sector and all of
Massively.
that. Now, what do you think of the reforms that are being done? We have seen the Petroleum Industry Act being implemented gradually since we entered this year. How do you think the government is going about all of that?
Government decision is very, very well. But you see people who are fighting it. Apparently, this PIA would have been running now. We ought not to be depending on anybody to bring fuel here. When it was to start, a group said there was this. You don't start something halfway. You break it. A lot of IOCs are leaving the country.
Yeah, and it's been shocking selling their assets every now and then. How worried is IPMAN about that?
Very worried, because it's like we're going back to the dark ages again.
And then who are those purchasing these assets of the international oil companies?
You know them now. They're not hidden.
Well, I mean, you are in the industry. Do you think that most Nigerians who are purchasing these IOC assets have the capacity to run some of these assets?
I think they can get in their foreign partners and, work together and see how they can move it forward. Yeah. Every businessman must have done his business plan properly before getting into it.
But there have been environmental concerns. I mean, we've seen two Nigerian oil companies who are managing some of those assets unable to manage oil spill, and then we had one where you had this, terminal burning up in flames and all of that. How do you think that the government can also help to support these Nigerian companies that are purchasing these IOC assets so that we don't have environmental issues affecting our people just because we want to embrace local content?
Sambo, Rome was not built in a day. By the time you give them, it could be trial and error, but one day, sure, they will get there. And those white people, they are not, they're human beings. But you have to start somewhere and be courageous. After all, most of those companies is being run by black people. Maybe you have one white man at the helm of our affair, but the whole job is done by our black people here. Yeah. So we have our brothers who are out there too, who have the knowledge. By the time they see that, look, this thing is getting into our hands, some of them will begin to come back with their technology. Okay. I believe it will go a long way. They should be encouraged. Government should encourage them. Okay,
as we try to round off this conversation, what assurances will you give to Nigerians on these fuel queues that they will go away for a very long period of time, and then the issue of diesel, and then this aviation fuel as IPMAN? What would you say needs to be done very quickly to remedy the situation as we go into the next week, so that we don't have a lot of Nigerians suffering at the airports, on the roads, at their manufacturing plants?
Well,
and all of
I think we're beginning to see how we're nipping in the bud the issues that have arisen over the toxic fuel that was brought in. And NPC is now trying to get it together. And IPMAN, major marketers, we're all putting our hands together to see that it doesn't repeat. Remember, this government have sustained, this fuel something. It's costing them a lot of money, but we can give them that mark freely that they have never been any time we see queues with this government. I think it's a plus for them.
With aviation fuel at 625 naira,
I have to intervention will go a long way
per liter. I mean, we just hope that things will, ease off quickly for the airlines, so that a lot of people who fly due to bad roads will be able to have access to airplanes and all of that. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Somna Sambo.